So tell us who you are, what team you play for, and what position you play.
My name is Yosh Rau. I play for San Diego Dynasty, and I play anywhere I'm needed, but mostly I'm in the back center.
What brings you to the back center? Communication, field vision?
I mean, a paintball team is always made up of different role players, but on Dynasty we have so many qualified guys that can play all sorts of positions. I think one of the strengths of the team is kind of the universal positioning of all the players. I've just always felt like I was a good gun off the break, and we've had success with that over the years. I think Dynasty is actually one of the best shooting teams off the break. And then, yeah, being a bridge for communication is a strength and something that I feel like I can bring to the team.
You mentioned qualified guys. You just brought on two new guys to the team, which is not traditional of Dynasty. One player has obviously proven that he's got the quality, and the other one's a little bit younger, but I'm sure hopeful for him.
Mm-hmm.
What does it look like when Dynasty is looking to bring somebody into such a tight-knit group?
Well, Dynasty had a great year in 2021, and really the team has had 2 great years in a row. But as the game evolves and as the team gets older, it seems prudent to not only bring on more players to add depth, but to continue to add younger talent so that we can develop guys in the Dynasty system. And, this offseason, picking up Damian Vasquez and Archie Montemayor is it fills the roles perfectly. We're picking up an MVP caliber player who is still hungry and looking to have a great time playing paintball, which is really what Dynasty is all about. And we pick up a young guy in Damian who will have a lot to prove, but he's got great players and mentors to teach him, the Dynasty way, and hopefully we can bring out the best in him.
If two things have been true in paintball, it's that JT is cool and Dynasty wins tournaments. So are you guys just as fired up to win tournaments in JT gear now as you were 10, 15 years ago?
Absolutely. I mean, two things that go well together are JT paintball and Dynasty paintball. There's nothing like pulling on my set of JT flexes. It definitely feels like we've come home. And from our upbringing and even before we turned pro 2 decades ago, JT was a great supporter of us individually as players and of teams that we played on before Dynasty was formed. And when Dynasty was formed, JT was the title sponsor, and it feels right to be back in that place again.
What did it look like you getting connected with the Dynasty guys and joining the guys and starting Dynasty so long ago? What was that story, your inception?
So I actually wasn't a part of the inception of Dynasty. I was a part of the precursor to Dynasty, which was the Iron Kids and Cap Factory team. So, I certainly had a lot of familiarity with the group, but my first years playing pro, I played for the Iron Men and competed against Dynasty. After a few years playing pro, it felt right to come back to the guys. We all lived in the same house together through all those years of our first, pro years playing against each other and reuniting with the team, especially after, seeing the incredible run that they had just started when they started the team. It was a really special thing to come back.
Cool. So over the years, the style of paintball has changed a little bit in terms of appearances. Who's been the most stylish or flashy player that you've played with?
I think on San Diego Dynasty, I feel like Ryan has always kind of been in the spotlight for being the flashy player. He's certainly been there in a lot of big moments, and that only contributes to your legacy, right? And good players look stylish. That's just the way it goes out there. These days, though, I feel like we're kind of loaded up with guys that all have influence out there. Have their own thing going. Alex has, his headband company, which has kind of caught the paintball world on fire. And now that we're back in JT, I feel like we're looking cool again.
Did you keep any of your OG JT gear?
I definitely have a good collection of JT jerseys from back in the day, from Iron Kids days, Cap Factory team, and some of the early on Dynasty jerseys. Unfortunately, I didn't have any of my Flex collection. Definitely had a bunch of cool stuff, straps and frames and bottoms and stuff. But over the years, that collection just kind of got picked apart.
Who's been your biggest pro player nemesis on the field?
I actually a former teammate of mine, Brandon Short. I always give him credit. He was always the guy that I hated playing against. Eventually, I was lucky enough to play with him and play side by side. But he was always, a snake player that, I mean, he didn't just create problems for me personally, but he created problems for Dynasty. So credit to Short for sure.
And he just played the last event at World Cup.
Yeah, we had to call Short up to, fill in. Dalton got hurt. We definitely needed some more depth. And, it didn't take much for us to think who's the most qualified guy that we could call that we knew would fit right in with our group. Brandon Short, called him up. He was ready to come in. Came in, didn't even have to play all the prelims. He just stepped right in, fit right in, and got a good result.
Dynasty has been consistent with bringing old people back into the organization, such as Dalton came back, he got hurt. Brandon Short came back to fill the role. Skinny Kevin came back. What's it feel like to have such a deep family of Dynasty of people that use the support?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I've been playing on Dynasty for I guess this is my 19th year, and every year has been special, and it's special because of the guys that we have on the team. It's special because of our teammates, and there's a culture here, and it's created by these players. So it's not that surprising to me that even when a player goes and pursues something else in their paintball career, it's always enticing to come back. And for the most part, we have long-standing relationships with a lot of great players in the league, and if it's the right time and the right fit, they're more than welcome to come back, and that's kind of been, I think, a part of the recipe for Dynasty's success is to kind of always have a stable of veteran players that know our system and fit in well with us.
Who's one player that you've always wanted to play with but never got the opportunity?
That's a good question. I mean, there's a lot of great players out there, and honestly, Dynasty has kind of gone forward with a lot of homegrown talent, and so you look at like the overall roster for Dynasty over the years, and there's a lot of names there. So I've been lucky to have the opportunity to play with a lot of great guys, but there's guys out there that might be surprising but I just really respect the level of play that they play at, and respect what they bring to their teams and the game. Guys that I would mention would be like the Jackson brothers from Texas. Now they play on different teams, and they've played kind of all around the league, but nothing but respect for those guys.
Cool. What are you most excited about going back to JT as a sponsor?
I love wearing the JT goggles. I think it's become apparent to me, especially lately, that there's paintball gear, and then there's also paintball gear that has culture attached to it, and I feel like JT definitely has this culture attached to it, and it's not just because Dynasty wears it. It's always been its own identity. When JT was started, and when pro teams were wearing JT, it was a totally unique idea, right? The John Gregory, who started JT, he wanted to sponsor teams, and he wanted to sponsor players and turn them into paintball superstars. And I feel like he kind of paved the way for paintball players like myself and my teammates to have an opportunity for that lifestyle. And now that we're back in it, I feel like sky's the limit again.
That's very cool. Now, do you know the inception story to the name JT?
I seem to remember that back in the day it was TJ backwards. I don't know that that's accurate, so I don't know that this is gonna make the cut, but Yeah, my understanding was that, a lot of the stuff for JT was made just across the border. I remember their original factory was like in Otay Mesa, and that JT was TJ backwards. I don't know if that's accurate.
TJ being Tijuana.
That's right. Yeah.
Tijuana.
Is that accurate or no?
Yeah.
That seems
Yeah,
to be
it
the
is,
story.
okay.
Yeah.
That's what Hinman told us today. That's what Greenspan said.
I'd be interested to get Don Widmer's take on that, because he was around in the earlier Luis, or get John Gregory to tell us a little bit about it.
It's the third time we've asked a question today. Third same answer.
All right.
So I think we're good.
Cool.
Confirmed.
Well, we all came from the same place too,
Right.
so we might have all heard the same story. I don't know.
And if it's not where it came from, by the time we're done, it will be. What's it like having to talk about what it has to play with Dynasty and also assembling the Force guns, being a lead guy behind that?
That works.
So to kind of tie Dynasty and JT and Field 1, Hormesis, the Dynasty Champions Club all together, it all seems like it's coming together at the perfect time. Those are all fundamental pieces of what we're trying to do with Dynasty, which is creating a community of players and paintball fanatics. And, the common thread is that, we all love paintball. A more specific thread is that we all love Dynasty. But JT is going to be a huge part of that. We're launching the Dynasty Champions Club this year, and it's so far, it's been incredibly refreshing for me, who's been playing pro paintball for 2 decades now, to see this level of support and this level of fanaticism from, and I don't call them fans, because these are people who actually love to play the game as well, right? So these are supporters of paintball, and it feels so great to be supported by the Dynasty Champions Club members, and JT is such a great fit for that. I appreciate you guys. Thank you.